Welcome to the Awaken on Purpose podcast, where each week you'll hear inspirational stories of heart-centered leaders who have awakened to their higher purpose and taken that leap of faith to follow their heart and make an impact in the world. Get ready to be enlightened, empowered, and transformed with your host, Jennifer Spohr.
I am beyond overjoyed to welcome our guest today, Lila Smith. Lila Smith is the mission-motivated creator of the Say Things Better method of intentional communication. Her work uses tools she learned in theater to make communication more connective. She travels around the world as a speaker and workshop leader. She runs a mastermind group and does one-to-one Say Things Better and YouMap coaching. But she wasn't always doing this work, and she didn't always know what her mission was supposed to be. Her awakening occurred over about a year of building community on LinkedIn, learning about her YouMap, and being receptive to messages that called her to a higher purpose than she was fulfilling, either in acting or in her e-commerce career. Once Lila's eyes were open to the gifts she had to share with the world, there was no going back. Welcome, Lila. So excited to have you.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. I love hearing your voice tell my story because I know that you know what it means to make a transition like I did. I know that you know. And in the second that I connected with you, even on LinkedIn, I looked at your profile and I said, oh my God, she speaks to women who are exactly like the woman that I was. And it's not that often that I see some messaging from somebody and I know exactly who their client is supposed to be, who their ideal communication partner is, and it's me. It was so exciting to see that there's someone out there like you helping women like who I was get unstuck, find that higher purpose, that calling that makes every day feel like it's supposed to be there. And I have loved our connection and our friendship, and I'm so excited to be on your podcast and to be awake and alive and on purpose.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for those words, Lila. I feel the same about you. And I know that our listeners are dying to know what inspired you to actually do the work you're doing today. And how did you get to where you are now from where you were before you discovered that higher purpose?
I was in a place where, because I have positivity as one of my top 5 strengths, what happens is that I have a pretty positive experience of life and of the world. And I walk around pretty darn joyful all the time. And my glass is always half full. And I keep filling it up with my own energy. But it also means that when I'm in a toxic situation or I'm surrounded by negativity, that I feel the pain of that much more strongly. So there were 2 things that were happening at once. And one was that I was feeling just okay, and I looked at my life on paper and I thought, well, this is good enough, isn't it? And I've checked all the boxes and I checked my work to see what's my life like right now? Is it what I'm supposed to be doing? Does it feel good? And I checked enough boxes that I felt like surely my glass was at least half full. And so maybe I was having a gratitude problem. And maybe I was, but the other part of it was that I was surrounded by so much negativity where I was working. There were things that were negative about that situation, voices that were negative around me about ideas that I had. I felt undervalued all the time. Any part of my life, with certain friendships that had stopped because I had stopped acting, I felt like I didn't have anything to offer in those friendships anymore. And when I started to talk about the things that were interesting to me about politics or my work in e-commerce or something that I had seen, those people weren't interested in me anymore. So I felt like so much of me that used to feel really good and used to be really fulfilling, even though it was checking the boxes, it was like an empty check. So my glass was feeling increasingly more empty and hollow, and I wasn't used to that. And I didn't like it, and it put me into a state of desperation, like a sense of urgency. I've got to fix this fast, and I don't know how, and I don't know what to do. So I put a post up on Facebook which is one of the last times that I was consistently using that platform, because it was also a place where things were so negative and people were tearing each other down. And it just was just like a dark, gray, stormy, murky, mucky, yucky time. So I put up a post there and I said, hey, I'm having a birthday, July 1st. In advance of that, I'd like to do something different every single day for a month. The whole month of June, I'll do something different. This is in 2017. I got a lot of really good suggestions from people who knew me pretty well, friends and family. And that's what's nice about Facebook, is that you can connect with those people. And they knew me pretty well. So they were suggesting all different kinds of things. But ultimately, I decided to do two. One was to say gratitudes out loud every single day as soon as I woke up. And my friend Ashley Robinson, she's an actress also, and she had lived with me, and she had suggested that. So I decided, okay, I'm going to start my day with daily gratitudes. And I still do that. I still do it every single morning. And it turns out I don't have a gratitude problem. I don't. I'm plenty grateful. But it also showed me, as I was speaking gratitudes out loud, it kind of reinforced for me value that I had that I wasn't acknowledging or taking advantage of or leveraging in any way. So I thought, well, I'm grateful that I had theater experience because it showed me how to be a good leader. But then as soon as I said that out loud, I thought, well, I'm not telling anybody that. I'm not sharing that with anybody. So it's worth it for me and for my team, but does that really maximize the potential impact of me in my life? So the more I spoke my gratitudes out loud, the more I acknowledged my gifts, the more that I realized I had stuff to share that I hadn't been sharing. And that's where I started to see and feel this accumulation, this wealth, this gold that I wanted to go and give. And the other thing that I did differently for every day, starting June 1st, 2017, and actually the day before, because I was so excited, was to leave that little blue and white app alone, that little Facebook app that I used to check first thing in the morning every day when I woke up, look at notifications and see who wanted a piece of me or whatever it was. And I would leave that app and instead start with LinkedIn. Start with a place that maybe I could find more professional alignment, either in community, people who would value these ideas I had about leadership and about communication and writing content or writing comments and getting on the phone with people and talking to them about things that I felt that some of my friends weren't valuing in me. I felt my partner wasn't valuing in me. Members of my family weren't valuing in me. I wasn't valued for at work, and I hadn't even been valuing in myself. So I went in pursuit of that community, and I found it on LinkedIn. And I happened to come there right around the time that Microsoft acquired LinkedIn and the advent of LinkedIn Video began, and LinkedIn Local started. And there were all of these movements that are there to make people on that platform more connective. And there I was at the right place at the right time with all this stuff from theater that helps people to be more connective and more communicative. So I started talking about it. And as I did that on this platform, my community kept coming to me and saying, that's good stuff. That's really valuable. That's something I haven't heard before. And I was like, really? You haven't? This is new for you? And yeah, it was new. Nobody was talking about this kind of thing on LinkedIn. And the more that people kept telling me, you're really good at communication. Can you help me to say this? Can you help me word this? You always say things better. People kept saying those same words. And in fact, when Kristen Sherry, who I had also met on LinkedIn, did my YouMap with me, she said, you know what it looks like? It looks like you're a communication coach or a speaker, or like that you could help people with messaging or all of those things. Have you ever thought about doing that and just being a consultant? You know how to just say things better. Help people do that. And I said, that's cute, Kristen, but I need a job. So I thought that I was just stuck in job world forever. And it took me another 6 months of thinking about that and ruminating and letting it sit in me as other people kept coming at me and saying, you do this well. You do this well. You communicate well. You say things better. Those same words, say things better, say things better, say things better. And over time, people started also offering to pay me for this, to say, hey, I need help saying this. Can I just offer you this money? People always say that you're a great communicator. Would you just take my money, please? I was like, really? You want to pay me for the stuff that I would do anyway? And yeah, like they did. So that's what took me from it was really other people saying, hey, do this. You're good at it. Please give us this part of your value. I really had to be hit over the head with this message. I didn't feel it on my own.
What you said is so important too. The part about how you didn't say it in exactly this way, but how the way you were, it just felt like common sense to you. Right. And so you were surprised when other people were saying how what you were doing was different. And then they were offering to pay you for that. That's often the case. Our higher calling is something that feels so natural to us that it feels like common sense.
Yeah. We often take things for granted that are natural to us. When I looked at my strengths after Kristen Cherry went through them with me, I did this assessment called Clifton Strengths as part of the Gallup organization's offering for helping people identify those things, those natural talents, the things that we take for granted. And they're so easy for us that we assume that they're easy for everyone. And sometimes I think we just don't value the work that we do unless it's hard for us. And we look at other people for whom it's easy and we think, wow, that person must be smarter than me. Or that person must be more wired for success or more deserving of this role. And when you think about that role or whether or not those people are more suited for it, they might just have different strengths. They might just have different natural talents. But we admire things in other people because they align with our values. So I admire people who are really good at budgeting, who are really good at organization, because I value those things. But I'm not good at those things. So those things aren't my strengths, but they are my values. So I know to find a place within my strengths now that how can I use my strengths to achieve things that are part of my values if they're not my strengths myself. And so my whole YouMap kind of shows me how to do that. My strengths, my values, my skills, the way that I'm wired gives me insight into myself for that. And that's been really helpful. But I think it's such a good point that people sometimes only value our own work if we're struggling. And that's a terrible place to be because who wants to always be struggling just so that we can feel successful?
It is, and I think that's what traditional society teaches us, right? That it has to be hard to get to where we want to be. And the hard experiences can be viewed as opportunities for growth, but it doesn't have to be that hard. Mm-hmm. We're meant to share those passions, those values, those strengths with others. And when we're able to do that, it does feel easy. It does feel like we're in the flow.
Does your work feel easy for you?
Yes, my work does feel easy for me, and I do my best to outsource the things that don't feel easy for me in my business, like stuff.
Having a coach like you, like having somebody who can tap in the moment to exactly the right thing that you need. It's stuff that sometimes I personally don't even think about outsourcing. You know, I don't think about outsourcing spiritual guidance. I don't think about outsourcing finding a higher calling. We're told, right, our whole lives in one way or another that some people have it and some people don't. Some people know it and some people don't. And it's just not true. We all have something that we've been put here for.
Yes, everybody does.
Incredible magic within us. Have access to it at every minute for ourselves to be valid. The yesterday of the day that we're recording this was August 7th. Today is August 8th. And I did a speaking engagement at the Dallas Mavericks organization. A year and a half ago, I had bought all these headbands, these Dallas Mavericks headbands for hope from a woman named Elizabeth Jordan who worked at the organization, still does. And these were fundraiser, and I had these headbands, and I just thought, gosh, someday I'm going to do something with the Dallas Mavericks organization. I'm going to come and bring them communication skills, and I'm going to do a workshop for them. And this is before I had even gone full time with Say Things Better. But I manifested this. I said, this is something that I want. I'm aligned with their values of bridging into community. I'm aligned with their values of investing. They have something that they call craft, like always practice your craft. And it's an acronym that I can share with you later. But basically, like I knew that these were people that I wanted to work with, and it was an organization I wanted to work with. So it was a really big deal for me yesterday that it was happening, that I got to go there and do this workshop and bring my work there and work with such incredible people. And I knew that it was going to be positive. And yet, like 2 hours before I had to go and do this, I was having this crisis of consciousness and knowing where I'm supposed to be and thinking about a move coming up. And do I want to move? Do I want to move at all? If I want to move, where do I want to move? I'm not really rooted anywhere. I don't have the family life that keeps me in one place. I don't have kids right now. And I don't have that partnership that makes me rooted into one place. I could go anywhere. I could go back home. I could go. And I'm like overwhelming myself with all of these options and ideas that are tearing me into these little frantic pieces that had nothing to do with the incredible opportunity that I was just about to give away because I was so in my head about this completely other thing. And that moment of feeling overwhelmed and stuck, it's interesting because we think about outsourcing taxes. We think about outsourcing administrative work. We think about outsourcing plumbing. Roger Wakefield is the master plumber, and I get to work with him because I'm in Dallas. It's easy to think about outsourcing those kinds of things. But when I had a moment of overwhelm, feeling stuck, feeling desperate, and unable to experience the joy of something that I had been working for and manifesting for over a year, you're who I called, because I needed to outsource handling that moment. When I couldn't see what I needed to do to get to a place of joy, it was you. It was you right away, and it was only you. When people outsource things to you, like moments like that, do you notice a theme in why people are coming to you or when they're coming to you?
I do, absolutely. To really summarize it into one statement, I help people step into their light. So these different people come to me in different places in their lives for different reasons, but it all goes back to really helping them to peel away the layers and the moments of doubt and fear that mask who they truly are. And that's really what it is. I mean, I say, this podcast is about you, right? But I say I'm a transformational coach, but I don't really mean it in the sense of change. I mean it in the sense of helping other people remember who they really are, who they've always been.
Yeah, so. You did help me with that. And it wasn't about moving forward with a whole new way of my life. It was in this moment, I'm so stuck that I can't find that person. Help me find her again. She was here 5 minutes ago. I don't know what happened. Help me find my way back to myself. And it was a transformative moment. And you gave me actionable advice, which that I need. Like, I need a thing to do. And there was the thing that you told me was to feel present in this moment. And it was so freeing that I could just table some of this stuff for another time. And that it was okay to acknowledge the thoughts, acknowledge what the issue was, and then ask myself if it was something that was going to give me joy in this moment as much as something else could. And I was like, no, this moment should be about the Mavericks. It should be about going to this organization and bringing them communication tools, something that I've wanted for so long. This moment should be about that. And then you gave me kind of a decision tree. You said, okay, here's what to do then. Like, next step, now that you know what is going to make this moment joyful or not, if it's going to give you great joy, go all the way in on that. Celebrate it. Sing a song. You said put some music on and dance around. And I did that. I danced around before I put my dress on in Mavericks Blue. And I had this moment of great celebration. And I felt like, oh, that's who I am again. That's me again. I felt a return to myself and a return to that positivity and a return to that joy. And my cup wasn't half full. It was overflowing. And then anything else that wasn't that, why would I bother? It didn't even enter my mind. And I felt like a duck and the water just rolled off my back. Like I knew it was there. I knew it was wet, but it was going somewhere else and not in my moment of great joy. So thank you for that yesterday. And it's just interesting to think about the moments that we outsource and to whom and for what. I needed somebody like you to say, here, return to your purpose in this one moment. It was great.
You're welcome, Lila. It was really so much my pleasure. And That's where our power is most in the present moment, in the now. We can't change the past, and our future exists in potential. Our future exists based upon where we choose to spend our energy, in how we choose our thoughts, and in how we choose our emotions in this moment right now. So no doubt that yesterday, although you were feeling that joy in that moment, you were also creating future joy.
That's true. I was, and I created all of this joy that I brought with me. I left after that workshop feeling like this is how this work should always feel. This is as perfect as this workshop is ever going to get in terms of like a lunch and learn format in that period of time. The balance, the way that I interacted with the people who were there, what I got back from them, the moments that because I was full of joy, I was able to use to connect on a deeper level with just one-on-one some of the attendees, and therefore making all of them feel more connected and more in it together. There was a young man named Marquise, and he's on the sales team at the Dallas Mavericks. And he's a young guy, and like I asked him, what he wants to do to make other people feel. Like, what are his values and what does he care about making other people feel when they're around him? Because that's how we do Verb Your Values. And we were talking about just how he shows up. He said, what I want to do is be so fully me that other people know it's okay, it's safe, and it's encouraged for them to be fully them. So I want to demonstrate it. I want to come into a room and have Marquise is here. And I said, okay, then your verb is to Marquise, which just means to show up so authentically and so fully that other people can't help but feel your energy. And this kid, like, he has it. He has that energy. And I was thinking about that verb, like, sometimes I'm going to have to Marquise, even though I'm Lila, and that would be like to Lila. But to Marquise will root me in that moment that I had with him. And it's also to entrust. It's being yourself and letting your joy be so big and entrusting the people who are around you not to step on it, not to crush it. You're entrusting them to be your communication partner and to hold you in that moment where you are feeling so full and so heightened and so elevated, so close to your highest purpose, self, calling, all of it. And because I had that joy and I brought that with me on purpose, I gave that joy to him. He gave more joy back to me. And now I think his whole sales team is going to make fun of him by calling him the two Marquise or something like that. But it was just, it did create future joy. And then that moment created future joy. And now I'm talking about it again. And probably people can hear how joyful I am and it's creating joy for them.
Yes, and those that are listening, you're creating joy for them. And it's a ripple effect. And that's really what it's all about. I mean, we are all separate and unique, but at the same time, there's a collective consciousness. We're all interwoven together, and it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
So every experience in our lives shapes who we become. Every experience serves a purpose. What experience in your life most stands out to you that you feel has really been significant in shaping who you are?
My experience in the theater. It's not just one, although I could probably point to a couple specific times that I was in theater that I felt like I knew what I was there for and I knew what I was learning and I knew it would be important for me and for everybody there. There are magical moments and lessons that I took from being in theater that I will never run out of advice to give people because it was like boot camp for life. Oh, you learn how to be on a team. You learn how not to be a diva. You learn how to share the space and the stage. You learn how to share light. You learn how to connect. You learn how to connect with other people. You learn how to connect a story out to an audience. You know how to sell. You know how to raise money. You know how to scrap. You know how to be adaptable. You know how to pick up a whole set for Anne Frank that you once performed at the Herberger Theater Center West in Phoenix and pick that whole thing up and put it in a Cafe Gymatorium in Kansas the next day. You learn how to adapt. You learn how to adapt to different personalities. And you learn what other people need in order to feel close to you. And you learn about yourself. You learn what you need to feel safe. You learn what you need to feel powerful. and you learn what you need to be in your fullest creative expression, to let your voice be itself. I learned all of that and so much more in theater. I can't narrow it down to just one moment, but it was the foundation from which I will live the entire rest of my life.
So it definitely shines through in everything that you do.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
You're beautiful.
Oh, so are you. There's just so much love here.
I know.
It's a love fest.
It's always a love fest.
It is. What advice would you most have for other people right now who are in a place where they're feeling called to do more, where they're feeling that nudge, their soul's guiding them to make a change?
I would say if they don't know what that thing is, if they're not sure what it is, just start listening. Just start by listening. Think about the people who are around you having conversations. And when you feel something strongly, when you have an opinion, either positive or negative, it's a good sign that you have something to say about it. And if you do have something to say about it and you are comfortable saying something, say it. Just enter the conversation. And it doesn't have to be a big, giant, full page ad in the New York Times that you take out. It doesn't have to be a full major motion picture that you produce about it. It can just be something that you say at dinner. To start embracing and on purpose voicing when you have something to say about something that makes you feel strongly. And if you do know what it is that you're called to do, then start intentionally talking about it. And I mean all the time. Talk to your Uber driver, talk to your grocer, talk to your butcher, talk to your doctor, talk to your mother, talk to your friends, and see who your communication partner is. That's the person who's going to want to hear what you have to say. And they're going to ask you for more of it. And some people are going to pay you for it. And some people are going to offer you opportunities to speak on it. But don't hold anything back. If it's a part of your story, if it's a part of your experience, someone else needs to hear it from you. So I would just suggest, no matter what, use your voice in as small or as big of a way as you can.
That's great advice. And our higher calling, someone's higher calling may be a business, right? But it could be protecting the earth. It could be creating art. It could be anything. It's what your soul is guiding you to do.
My soul is guiding me to help the entire world communicate in a way that connects rather than divides. People selling out of a place of desperation, that doesn't connect. But people offering value to those who need it, that does. People creating work that they feel they have to defend before anybody's even heard it yet. They're going to be communicating defensively. That doesn't connect. But saying, hey, I have something to say. Does anybody else feel this? Is anybody else interested in discussing this? You leave it open. You leave it open for an inclusive conversation. That connects. I care about this stuff so much. I care about the way that we communicate with all of my heart. I think this is how I save the world. And if I just had all of the money in it to do anything I wanted to do with it, I would just make sure that I used it to help more people know about it.
I think what you're doing is a movement too. I mean, when I say you, I mean, whoever's listening, right? You can be in alignment with what you're feeling called to do, but it can help tremendously in being able to communicate that clearly. You even helped me verb my values to enlighten, to empower, and to transform. I knew that before, but in looking at it in that way, it just brought a whole nother level of clarity. And when we have clarity, we're in flow.
Yeah, and you can commit to it. You're accountable as well. You're accountable to communicating in a way that does enlighten, that does empower, that you help others to be in flow because you are intentionally doing those things. People think about instinct as the only way to be authentic, but it's not true. We have values that are true to our heart, that we carry around with us, that have always been part of us and always will be, where we don't bend, we break if they're stepped on. Those are the things that we want to make sure that we intentionally bring out into the world as often as we can. When you seek to transform, it changes the way that you listen. When you intentionally decide to empower, it changes the things that you allow yourself to say to someone. and it reminds you why you're there. And when you educate somebody about a new part of their life that you see or that you feel or that you sense, when you tap into something that can bring that enlightenment to them, and then you intentionally seek to do that, you're making a bigger difference. You're maximizing your impact. That's why we use Verb Your Values, because it keeps us accountable.
And we're talking about intentional communication. But what you say about being intentional, that can be applied to every area of our lives. We can set intentions around feeling joy, around achieving goals. I mean, there's so much more even beyond communication. And I know that could be another few-hour conversation, and I'll have to talk about that on another day. But I just wanted to plant the seed about the importance of living intentionally. So where could someone find you? Because I'm positive that there are so many people listening that could use your help.
If people are looking for my help, it's usually because they're trying to get clear on what their messaging is. They know maybe what their higher calling is, and now they want to talk about it. Or they don't know, but they want to at least learn some communication strategies to help them connect who they are with the people around them, and just to be able to navigate everyday communication issues. Or they're a brand and they're looking to scale out and connect people to them with inbound marketing strategies, saying, here's who we are, here's what we think, here's what makes us different. And so those people can contact me on LinkedIn. I'm just Lila Smith on LinkedIn, or you can look up the hashtag Say Things Better. You can find the LinkedIn company page for Say Things Better. And you can find me on Instagram at Lila Lasagna and at Say Things Better. You can also find me on my website at saythingsbetter.com.
Thank you so much, Lila. Thank you so much for sharing your story, which is really inspirational, and sharing how you connected with your higher purpose.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to reconnect with it. It really made a difference in my day. And I was so excited to be on this podcast, so fresh from that moment, because it's not always about your entire life. Sometimes it is about those moments where you just can't remember who you are. And what you did for me, I wanted to give as an example to the listeners so that they're aware in a moment that they have a choice to make too, and that they can choose to return to their higher purpose, original, full self as well.
Absolutely. Living on purpose is just as much a part of the journey as it is the destination. Thank you again for joining me. So honored, and I look forward to speaking with you again soon.
You too. Congratulations.
Thank you for listening to the Awake and On Purpose podcast. Please visit us and subscribe to the podcast at awakeandonpurpose.com so you never miss an episode. To learn more about how you can connect with your higher purpose and take that leap of faith to make your impact in the world, visit us at jenniferspor.com. And while you're there, be sure to join our email list for exclusive offers and a weekly dose of inspiration.